Guys, welcome back. It's been such a long time, but I'm returning to talk about some football. Talked a lot about Star Wars, a lot of those things, but now we're gonna be talking about the NFL draft. It starts this week. I'm really excited about this. This is honestly one of my favorite times of the year. So really exciting. We have no idea what's gonna happen. I don't know if this is gonna be my final mock draft. I might make one like hours before the draft starts. Once we know a lot about everything, um, with all like the rumors that come out and what we base everything, how we base what we hear onto our mock drafts. So, not sure if this is going to be the final one, but we're going to go into it. Obviously, number one overall, Trevor Lawrence. This guy, one of the best quarterback prospects we've ever seen. He's along the lines of Elway, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, all those types of guys. This guy is going to be pretty good. He's the safest bet at quarterback, but obviously there are other quarterbacks in this class that have the potential to be better quarterbacks than Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence is just such a safe bet that you have to take him number one overall. So I got Trevor Lawrence going to the Jaguars. The Jaguars, they need a guy that can just go and win them a Super Bowl. Blake Bortles couldn't do it for you. Trevor Lawrence can. So get Trevor Lawrence and just kickstart that rebuild that they already have going on there, and they will be back in playoff contention in the next 2 or 3 years. So, uh, and Urban Meyer, I think he's gonna direct this team well. And if he doesn't, you guys still have Trevor Lawrence, and it's not that big a deal because you got the quarterback, and yeah. So now at number two, this is kind of like a 99% sure thing that it's going to be Zach Wilson for the Jets. Uh, Zach Wilson, he can do it all. He can throw it from every angle. He has a rubber arm. He can just do so many things on the field. He's got the athleticism. He can move. He can uh, play off schedule. He could play within the pocket. All those types of things. His there is a little bit of a risk factor. Like there is a little bit of a bust factor in my opinion. I think he's a little less safer pick than what most people think. His floor is Johnny Manziel, and of course, Johnny Manziel has not worked out in the NFL. Uh, but I think Zach Wilson will be better than Johnny Manziel, obviously. Not only because he's the number two pick, but he doesn't need to run to throw. He's a quarterback that throws, but can run. Like Johnny Manziel was a quarterback that ran, but he can throw. Like that's I hope you guys understand that. But the Jets, this is exciting for them because he is an electrifying player, and you could argue that coming out, I think he's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Uh, Coming out, Zach Wilson had a way better season. I mean, he obviously didn't have the turnovers that Sam Darnold had coming out. So I definitely like this pick for the Jets. And the Jets, things are looking up, man. Things are looking up. Um, Now, a report came out late last night or early this morning that the 49ers were down to deciding two quarterbacks. This could be a major smokescreen, but I'm going to go with the potential smokescreen. And I'm going to say it's between Trey Lance and Mac Jones. If I were to pick, and I think Kyle Shanahan wants Mac Jones, I think that's the guy that they want, but the rest of their scouts want Trey Lance. I would have the Niner. If I were the GM, I would take Trey Lance if it was between the two. If it was between the big three that were left, I would pick Justin Fields. But uh, since John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, always likes to defer to the head coach, Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to have the 49ers take Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones is seen by the media as the fifth best quarterback in this draft. So why would you draft him number 3 overall? That's a good question. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan likes him a lot better than a lot of other people do. He's smart. He can throw accurately. He can read defenses. He can adjust protections, pocket protections, and he does have good feet and pocket awareness. So those are the things that you have to kind of take into account. Obviously, Justin Fields, he's not very good at reading the defenses as much as Mac Jones is, and also I don't think he's better at reading defenses than Trey Lance is. Even though Trey Lance played in the FCS, Justin Fields played in the Big Ten in the FBS. So those are things that you look at when Mac Jones's positives over Justin Fields' negatives. Those are the things that kind of separate them, and I can see why the Niners would look at it that way. They want a quarterback that can come in right now and start playing really well. And Mac Jones, I think he's the second most pro-ready quarterback in this draft, so it makes sense for them to go number 3, Mac Jones, to the 49ers. Now, you could argue that the Falcons could take a QB here because with that offense and, Matt Ryan, still be on the team, they're not going to pick that high up. You don't think that they're going to pick that high up anymore, right? So it's best, to maybe get that quarterback for the future because, again, who knows if you're going to be in that position again. So, but I'm going to take Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts makes that offense very dangerous. I know that they've been receiving calls about Julio Jones, but who really knows if they're willing to trade him? Right now, I wouldn't because I would want to see what an offense would look like with Matt Ryan behind maybe an improved maybe an improved offensive line. They have drafted a lot of offensive linemen over the years, so I would expect it to progress and get better. They could also draft a running back, but there's some pieces there. You got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage he's a very solid third option at receiver, and then you've got Kyle Pitts. Those skill positions are insane, and if you have the opportunity to have an offense like that, you can win now, but you got to fix the defense, and you hope that the offensive line improves, and also the run game improves, because, man, that was, it hasn't been good for the Falcons in the run game for a while. Now, the Bengals, at pick number 5, the argument between Penei Sewell and Ja'Marr Chase. Now, there's been some arguments within the fan base. Oh, it should be Ja'Marr Chase because we don't have that number one guy. You have a bunch of really, really good receivers with Tyler Boyd, Auden Tate, T. Higgins. You have some good pieces there, but you don't have that number one guy. And Ja'Marr Chase can be that for you. He is the best wide receiver prospect in Julio Jones, in my opinion. Now, that's just my opinion, and maybe the Bengals think that Penei Sewell is more valuable because they want to protect Joe Burrow. Because his knee obviously didn't survive that hit against the Washington football team last year. So, you could go both ways here. I think, based on what the Dolphins did to trade back up to 6 after trading back to 12 with the Niners, is that they are in this. That's a sweet spot for an offensive tackle. I don't think they want to draft a receiver right now in the top 6. I think, Chris Grier, he's just that type of guy, and I think he values offensive line. So I think they believe that the Bengals are going to pick Jamar Chase, and I think the Dolphins are going to take Penei Sewell. Now, there have been people in the media, scouts around the league, that say Rashawn Slater is a better prospect at the tackle position. I would agree with them. Penei Sewell, I think he's still a little too raw. I think he does need to learn a little bit more technique. And he did also play in the Pac-12, not the SEC, not the Big Ten, not those bigger conferences. And you could maybe argue Big Ten, but I mean, still, he was engulfing edge rushers. There were no edge rushers, very many edge rushers in the Pac-12. So you do have to look at that. Now, Penei Sewell still a very good prospect. Why I would pick Penei Sewell still here instead of Rashawn Slater is because that's just who I think they'll draft over, because the consensus number one tackle has always been Penei Sewell. So Penei Sewell at number 6 to the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins could definitely take Rashawn Slater here, but I think there's way too much of a need at wide receiver. Now, there is a big debate on who that wide receiver could be, and it has to be wide receiver here if the Lions don't trade back, which they definitely could. And there's no need to take a corner here. But it's between the Alabama receivers, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. I mean, pick who you want, really. I mean, I won't argue I won't argue who's the better pick. I think they both are just neck and neck. I actually thought that Jalen Waddle was the best receiver in this draft class coming into this season. Then I kind of, watched more tape and kind of changed my mind. And then, Devontae Smith had the Heisman season. And now I'm starting to like Devontae Smith better. So now Jalen Waddle drops from number 1 on my wide receiver list to number 3. But that's really no knock on Jalen Waddle. This receiver class is just really good, especially at the top. So I'm going to go Devontae Smith here. He's just a premier elite separator at the wide receiver position. I don't care about Devontae Smith's size at all. I think that's way too overblown. I don't think, size really matters at the wide receiver position. I think, no matter who the receiver is and how much weight he has, I think they all get open the same. So I really think size is overrated at the wide receiver position. I think they can press all the same. I think it's actually better that he is smaller because so he can run faster and be more nimble. So that's my point there. Now, the Panthers, this has kind of been one of the lockiest locks in this draft. I don't see any other mock than Rashawn Slater to the Panthers for the Panthers. That's just how it is. But yeah, Justin Fields, by the way, still on the board. It's insane that the Broncos can actually have Fields at 9. Now, do I expect maybe someone to trade up to 8? I definitely think I could expect it. I mean, the Panthers have gotten a lot of trade talks. Like 5+ teams have been looking to trade up. You could see even the Vikings, the Patriots, of course, the Washington football team, and the Bears are all trying to trade up to that spot to pick up Justin Fields. Now who that team's going to be, I don't know. The most likely, I would say the Patriots because they have the 15th pick. And now I say the Vikings because I've seen a little bit of tad bit of rumors saying that they could move up to get a quarterback here. Now, would I agree with that? I don't know. I feel like that roster is kind of win now right now. That defense is starting to mold back into that 2017 form. I don't know, but Justin Fields at 9. This is a no-brainer in my opinion for the Broncos. Their offensive line, I mean, they've got some pretty good tackles, and the interior obviously remains to be seen, and they're missing linebackers. But man, this is starting to look like one of the most complete teams in the NFL. Now, of course, They need the quarterback. And here you have Justin Fields. Man, Justin Fields is my second quarterback in this draft, and he falls to be the fourth one selected. And Trey Lance is on the board too, and Trey Lance also is, I believe he's top 4, so he's my top 4 quarterback. And yeah, obviously the Broncos, I don't know if you could trust Drew Lock at this point. It's a win now team, and I think Justin Fields could be better than Drew Lock right away. Justin Fields, he's big, he's strong, he's mobile, he has a strong arm. You could argue that he can't read defenses. Well, a lot of quarterbacks in this league can't read defenses. A lot of these offenses are college offenses in this league now. So, I mean, the coaches are kind of making the decisions for the rookies. And, that's what you can do with Justin Fields. You can have him, you can ease him in, give him some first one reads that he can just kind of hit, and then, set him up for the deep play, which I know he's capable of because he has a really strong arm. I think Justin Fields is fantastic, man. So I'm going to go. I think it's the best. I think he's got the potential to be the best in this draft, best quarterback. So to get him at 9 is huge. Now we go on to number 10. The Cowboys have a decision between J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain, and it's trending towards J.C. Horn, so that's who I'm going to pick. He's been compared a lot to Stephon Gilmore, who was once at South Carolina, and South Carolina has produced a lot of good defensive players, in particular the corners. And this is Joe Horn's son, and I know that Jerry Jones wants to take a corner here. There's no way that you don't. Okay, the best corner, you could take any corner in this draft. Any corner on the board will be there at 10. And J.C. Horn, he's been compared to Stephon Gilmore, one of the best corners in the league. Won Defensive Player of the Year just a couple years ago. This is the pick for the Cowboys at number 10. I wouldn't argue with Patrick Surtain either. Another son of a player in the NFL. So, now we go to 11. If I were the GM, I would just go ahead and take Trey Lance. That would be my decision there. Now, obviously, we don't know if that's going to happen because David Gettleman loves Daniel Jones, and I'm not sure I'm too sold on Daniel Jones. But the rest of the Giants roster is ready to go. The rest of this Giants roster is ready to go make the playoffs, in my opinion. But if you really want Daniel Jones to have a prove-it year, you got to take Jalen Waddle here because this is an offense that doesn't quite have that separator. They got Kenny Galladay, but he can't separate. He's more of a 50-50 guy, a body catcher type guy. You can get Jalen Waddle to separate, to be the true separator, and to be that scary weapon that Daniel Jones has. And his speed is just remarkable. You've heard the Tyreek Hill comparisons. Man, this guy's a beast. This is the prove-it year for Daniel Jones. If he cannot win with these weapons, it's it for him. You have Sterling Shepard, even though he's been really disappointing. Darius Slayton, Kenny Galladay, Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley. Those are weapons all over the place. You could argue that the offensive line is not where they want it to be right now. But you expect their young guys to improve, to grow with each other, and maybe get kind of good. So I like this pick for the Giants, obviously, because I'm making the pick. And now the Eagles. The Eagles could also take Trey Lance here, but I think I don't think that would make sense because they literally traded out of 6. And I think the only quarterback they wanted in this draft was Zach Wilson, and they weren't able to get him. So I don't think it's going to be Trey Lance. I do think it could be wide receiver here, but obviously the top 3 are gone, and there's no value in getting another wide receiver here. You could take Patrick Surtain. They do have a big corner issue, and Darius Slay was kind of disappointing last year. I do think Darius Slay has good play left in him, and they didn't give up much for him. They do have Nickel Roby-Coleman, but they need that other guy at corner. So I'm going to take Patrick Surtain. I think this is kind of his floor of where he goes. I don't think he falls past this spot. I could be wrong about that, though. Patrick Surtain, if it's not 12, it's got to be 14. I don't think Mike Zimmer would pass on a corner like Patrick Surtain. And you could say, oh, they have too many corners. Mike Zimmer is just that type of coach. I really can't tell you what else. Now we have the Chargers. They do need offensive tackle. Christian Darrisaw has been mocked here pretty much whole draft season. I mean, maybe not a whole draft season, but it's kind of been a popular mock. But they also could look at, an edge. They could look at Jalen Phillips and say, hey, we need to replace Melvin Ingram. Let's go get Jalen Phillips. And that would be an interesting way of looking at it. And I think that could be the pick. That could be the pick there. Now they need offensive line help. But I really heard that Christian Darrisaw could fall in the 20s. No kidding. Like he could fall to 17. So I'm really not sure about this. This is where it kind of gets iffy, Yeah, this is tough. I'm going to have him take Jalen Phillips. I think Jalen Phillips has way too much potential. He's the most talented edge rusher in this draft class. I mean, he can stop. He could play in the run. He could play, he could obviously pass rush. He's one of the better guys at doing that. But obviously there's medical issues. But if he didn't have those medical issues, I think he'd be, no question, maybe a top 6, 7, 8 pick. So if he can be healthy, this is a steal for the Chargers. Now we go to 14. I'm going to go a little quicker on these picks here. Interior O-line, Elijah Vera Tucker here. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I think if Jalen Phillips fell to 14, I think the Vikings would have picked him right up. But Elijah Vera Tucker to the Vikings, and he's a guard, and Daniel Jeremiah, said he has Pro Bowl potential at the guard position, at the interior line position. You can put him anywhere on that interior line, preferably guard though. Preferably guard, but he's going to go in there right away and dominate. And look at this, the Patriots have him fall all the way here. I doubt that he falls all the way to 15. I think the Patriots would still have to trade up because I think other teams will threaten to trade up. But they get him here at 15 in this mock draft. Obviously, there are no trades. I'm going to set my camera down there. So, yeah, Trey Lance, big guy. His legs are like tree trunks, man. He is hard to tackle. And he's actually a very smart quarterback. He could set his pass protections. Some points in games, he sets his pass protections, and that's really good for a quarterback that is considered raw in his game. So his accuracy, he could work on his accuracy in the league when he's in the league. But if he goes into a system right away that can, mold a system around him, I think he's going to be special in the NFL. But he's got to have really good coaching. That's just my opinion. Now we go to corner again. And obviously, J.C. Horn's been mocked to the Cardinals a lot, and they do need corner. I don't think they can't go corner here. So it could be Caleb Farley here, but it could also be Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome could also go here. Greg Newsome's kind of crept into the first round and really into the teens here. So really a nice uphill climb for Greg Newsome's draft stock. But I'm going to have him take Caleb Farley. He's by far the most talented corner in this draft. Again, medical issues, red flags there. Just had back surgery, and he opted out last season, of course. So it's really hard to evaluate that type of talent, even though he's really good. And I did talk about Christian Darrisaw potentially dropping, and here he is for the Raiders, left tackle here. Now, you could argue that he could put... you could put Darisaw at right tackle too if you really need to, because they did lose Trent Brown, and he was a right tackle. I'm going to have him take Christian Darisaw here. The tackles are fallen. Tevin Jenkins still on the board. Now, Dolphins took a tackle, Penei Sewell, earlier in the first round. So they're not going to take Tevin Jenkins here. They are going to take Micah Parsons after getting rid of Kyle Van Noy. So, a good pick there for the Dolphins, because Micah Parsons, you could argue, is a top 10 prospect and maybe the best defensive player in this draft. Now, the question is, where the heck are you going to put him? Where are you going to put him on this D line? Because really, we don't know if he can cover. We don't know if he can cover man. We don't know if he can cover those receivers. We don't know if he can play in the nickel. We do know that he can play in the box. Play the run. He can play the run really well, obviously. But he falls into 18 because we don't know if he can cover. So, and we don't know if he's really a true Mike linebacker, and that's the issue there. Now we go to 17. Washington needs an offensive tackle. Tevin Jenkins is there for the taking. I've heard with Washington football team fans. I've talked with them. They said that they'd like a tackle or a wide receiver. No, not a tackle or a wide receiver. A linebacker or a wide receiver, excuse me. And this is Riverboat Ron's defense. And I'm going to have him take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think this is the farthest he falls. And I think he's a better prospect than what Tevin Jenkins has to offer. But I am going to have the Bears take Tevin Jenkins because the Bears need a tackle desperately. Bobby Massey's gone. They need that franchise tackle. Now, he's not going to be a left tackle. He's going to be a right tackle for you. But maybe he could slide over and play left tackle in the future in his career. So, but this guy's a mauler. The only reason why he's down this far, and he's he's my favorite tackle in his class, and the reason why he fell down this far because he's a right tackle, not a blindside protector. But still, all offensive linemen are the same. No, I'm kidding. But Tevin Jenkins at 20, that's amazing for the Bears, so they definitely got to go take it. Now, this is kind of soul-crushing for the Colts here because there's no offensive tackles worth the value here at 21. And Tevin Jenkins was just taken right before they picked. And I wouldn't say the Colts need corner. I don't know why that's their second most need right there. I don't think they desperately need wide receiver. Interior D-line, you could argue they do need an edge, though. Kwity Paye could be the guy. I'd love Azeez Ojulari for them, actually, and that's who I'm going to take. Azeez Ojulari. He's got incredible bend. He's a quick, fast speed rusher. And he does have strength in his game, so he's an all-around type guy. Now, the problem is, can he play the run? That's the question there. He reminds me a lot of Clavon Chason coming out. That type of guy. They could take Gregory Rousseau, but I think that'd be way too early. But there are NFL teams that think Gregory Rousseau is the number one edge guy in this draft. So now next up is the Titans, and I'm actually going to have them take Elijah Moore because they did lose Corey Davis, and this is where they kind of take him. And I'm going to have... They did lose Corey Davis. They get that wide receiver. And I'm going to have the Jets take Greg Newsome here. Greg Newsome, they need a corner. Greg Newsome is a really good corner. This is actually a pretty good corner class, by the way. They get Greg Newsome at 23. They didn't have to trade up to do it. And there's been recent rumors that they trade up to 20 with the Bears to try and get Greg Newsome ahead of the Titans. But I don't think the Titans would take a corner here. So they get Greg Newsome at 23. Now the Steelers, on the other hand, they need a corner because they let go of Steven Nelson and they let go of some of their other corners. So they do need a corner here. There's no corner left of value now because Greg Newsome just got picked. They do need a running back, but I don't think you take one in the first round, especially not here at 24. There's no running back worth taking at 24. Not right now. You can maybe take one in the first round later. You could probably trade back and take a running back, but would you really waste your time trading back just to get a running back? I don't think so. So, you could look at maybe getting an edge because Bud Dupree left for the Titans. Yeah, I mean, this one's tough because they need offensive linemen. Alex Leatherwood could be the pick here. Not too sure about this one. I had to take a break real quick, but we were back. I will not be having my face cam on for the rest of the video, but that isn't going to prevent us from finishing this mock draft. Now, we were talking about the Steelers, and I was going to say that maybe they take not Christian Darrisaw, Alex Leatherwood, excuse me. I really had to think of that name. And that's not who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Najee Harris. He's the only guy worth of value that's a need for them. So yeah, I'm going to have him take Najee Harris out of Alabama. And Najee Harris, he's a special talent. He's a special talent. He has a vision. He has a size. He has a strength. You could argue that the only thing that's holding Najee Harris back is his top end speed. But he has everything else, in my opinion. So to get him at 24, don't like drafting a running back in the first round. And I don't think, it's going to solve the running game problems because their offensive line has some serious issues. But I don't think there's any offensive line worth taking. Could I see Creed Humphrey? Maybe. Could I see Landon Dickerson? Maybe. But man, it's really hard to imagine that. I'm just gonna go with the value pick here. So yeah. Now we go to number 25, the Jaguars, and they could look to get an added wide receiver here, and they could take Rashad Bateman, who could remind them a lot of Allen Robinson, who they once had put up around 1,500 yards, 100-yard seasons. I mean, Allen Robinson was insane with the Jags, but that's who I'm actually going to have them take. Now, they do, to pair them up, Rashad Bateman and DJ Chark, I think it's a pretty good combo. Laviska Shenault as a third option. And they do have some other receivers that really help support that core. So I'm going to go Rashad Bateman here. I don't see how he goes any further back. So to get him at 25 is pretty good. And I think, the separation between him and, the top 4 wide receivers, I don't think it's much of a, top 3, I don't think it's much of a gap. So, yeah. Now we go on to 19, and I'm going to have the Browns take Zaven Collins. They do need a linebacker, but not. I don't think it needs to be a Mike linebacker. But Zaven Collins, he can give you pass rush potential while also roaming the middle of the field. That's what I like about this guy. They did sign Jadeveon Clowney, but this is a guy that could really help out this team because he can somewhat cover. I'm not really sure if he's going to be a complete cover guy, but again, he can give you that pass rush potential. He can give you really good help in run defense. That's what the Browns need right now. They need a defense that can sort of anchor what they already built on offense, so that they can be a more complete team. So now we go to pick number 27. And this has been a pick I've really decided between Jayson Oweh and Kwity Paye. I really don't know how I keep on having Kwity Paye fall. But I don't think they need Kwity Paye. Not here. I think they do need Jayson Oweh, though. I don't know how Jayson Oweh fell this far, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Now, they do need edge, and they could possibly answer another need here later in this draft if the position of need is there, and it could definitely be there. Yeah, for sure. Because this is a really good wide receiver class again. So, now the Saints could definitely use Christian Barmore. They lost Sheldon Rankins, so this could be a spot where Christian Barmore lands, and that's actually what I'm going to do. This is probably the easy way out. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm going to do for the Saints. Is there any corner worth taking here? You could take Eric Stokes, but the value's a little bit off. Wide receiver value's a little bit off. Yeah, the Packers, they do need a lot more than people really think. Now, could the Packers take Landon Dickerson and potentially replace? I don't think Landon Dickerson would. I think Creed Humphrey would do it, and in my opinion, I think Creed Humphrey is a first round guy. Now, you could argue with me about this. I just think he's a first round guy, and do I think he could go? I think he could. I'm going to go Creed Humphrey. It's really hard to predict these back four, so I'm sorry if anybody gets upset about this. I mean, it's just really hard to pick these. And Kwity Paye is still on the board, by the way. And I'm going to actually have Kwity Paye go to the Bills. They're at 30. I don't think they could pass up on him, even though he could be a scheme fit. He could. I think he actually could, yeah. But yeah, edge at 30 for the Bills. They do need some help on defense. Everybody expected that defense to be good, and then it just kind of was in shambles. So now we go on for the Ravens. So now they can pick any wide receiver that's left on this board. And that's been the rumor that they do take a wide receiver. And wide receivers always been an issue for the Ravens for some reason. They just can't ever fix it. But I'm going to take the best wide receiver that's still on the board. Actually, no, because they already have that guy, Hollywood Brown. No, I know Hollywood Brown isn't the greatest receiver. I get that. But it's going to be between these two. Rondale Moore, he's small, he's fast. That's another kind of Hollywood Brown-like guy. Terrace Marshall. I'm going to have him take Terrace Marshall here. And for the Buccaneers at 32, I think they go Joe Tryon just because, you don't know what the future is with JPP because he is getting up there in age. I'm going to have him take Joe Tryon. I don't know if that's they don't have very many needs. But here's my mock draft guys. These are the picks that I'm going to scroll through them so you guys can see them. I don't think I made any picks that would really upset fans. I don't know very much about the situations in the back of the first round. It really could go either way. I think Zaven Collins is the only one that I feel really confident could happen. Rashad Bateman, I'm kind of iffy about. But yeah, that's kind of It's kind of that's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I'm going to be doing, hopefully, I'm going to be doing another mock draft later this week, right before the actual NFL draft. So I'll catch you guys next time.